I also show you what happens if you use heat tools, so if you want to see some doll hair melting and burning, keep watching. Hey everybody, welcome or welcome back. So if you clicked on this video, chances are you're wanting to know what type of doll hair your doll has, or you just want to know how to identify the different types of doll hair fiber that are out on the market currently. Or you're just one of my returning viewers and you watch all my videos anyway. And if that's the case, thank you very much. Either way, thank you so much for clicking on this video and for watching. Now, if you're not new here, this video is going to be a little different than my normal videos. I want this one to be more scripted, so that way it is a little bit more user-friendly and easier to follow, because I have a tendency to ramble and I will go on like 17 different side tangents. So we're not going to do that this time. That being said, this video is my #1 most requested video to this day. I was gonna make this video last year, but around the time I started kind of getting things together and getting all my notes together and everything, another doll YouTuber made a video very similar to this, or made this almost the exact video. So I just decided not to make the video because I didn't want it to look like I was copying them. And I mentioned that in one of my previous videos like last month sometime, and I got an overwhelming response of so many people commenting saying, no, we still want you to make the video. So this is that video for you guys that said that you wanted it. Now, I am by no means an expert when it comes to doll hair. I am a doll collector and customizer, and because of that, I am a doll hair enthusiast, but I am not the authority when it comes to doll hair or any of the facts I'm giving here. Most of the information in this video is either from my personal experience, or I got it from dollyhair.com, Denisa Medrano, or 1000 Splendid Dolls. Denisa and 1000 Splendid Dolls are two other YouTubers here. I will put links down in the bio to dollyhair.com and the other two YouTubers to the videos that I watched like several years ago. So if you want to check those out, you have those available to you. I definitely highly recommend checking out those videos as well. Go ahead and show them some love. Also, if you do check them out, make sure to leave them a comment saying that Chad Marvelous sent you. Most of the information in this video is going to be similar to those other videos, but I did want to update it because it doesn't have all the information for a lot of the stuff like polypropylene, for example. I also asked you guys on both Instagram and on the YouTube community page what you guys wanted to know about doll hair, and most of the questions were pretty much the same, so I'm not going to address the questions individually. All the information I'm going to provide will cover all those questions. You guys also wanted to see like examples of things, so I do show several different types of dolls. I also show you what happens if you use heat tools, so if you want to see some doll hair melting and burning, keep watching. Now, I'm not sure if the chapters feature is going to work properly on this video, that the feature that YouTube offers, so if not, I will try, if I remember, and put the timestamps for each hair type in the description of the video, so if you would just want to like skip ahead to one of a specific hair type, then you can go ahead and do that. That being said, I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera around and let's get started talking about all things doll hair. Here are some examples of dolls with Kanekalon hair. Now, doll grade Kanekalon is different than human grade Kanekalon. They do make human wigs with a Kanekalon fiber, but it is different than what dolls have. Kanekalon has been discontinued. I don't think that there are any dolls past 2015 that use Kanekalon anymore, but some of the examples you can see here are like older Barbies from the 90s and even earlier, as well as some Monster High dolls that were rooted with it. I actually don't have a big variety of dolls that use Kanekalon hair in my collection. So other than some G1 Monster High dolls, the most common doll that you're going to find Kanekalon on is Barbie. So I'm going to use this cut and style Barbie from the 90s as my example. Out of the 4 different hair types, Kanekalon is the thinnest hair fiber. It is not as shiny as the other options. It is a little bit more matte, but it is the softest hair on this list. This is a Ghoulia doll from Monster High G1. She has a couple different colors of Kanekalon hair, and as you can see, it's very light, very floaty. You could describe it as feathery, and it does feel dry. Kanekalon holds its style very well, and it's really easy to set a style with some heat. So along with being soft and very fine, Kanekalon is also very weak. So if I was to pull a strand here, it breaks off really easily. Kanekalon has the lowest heat tolerance, which means it is going to react at a lower temperature than the other hair fibers. Because of that, it is not recommended to boil wash Kanekalon, or at least not like the hottest actual boiling temperature. All you really need is a hot water and it will still do the same job for Kanekalon. This makes Kanekalon the easiest to style. If you try and boil wash Kanekalon and the temperature is too high, the hair fibers will frizz. I know from personal experience. Since Kanekalon has such a low heat tolerance, it is not recommended to use heat tools. I'm going to show you what will happen if you do. All right, my hair straightener is on. It melts the hair. So now you can see all this hair is now melted together. It is literally one solid plastic chunk. Here I can kind of separate it again, but this hair is done. Now, of course, if you're careful, you can use a heat tool, but it is recommended to make sure that the hair is wet and use plenty of water before you do that. Now, the hair straightener that I'm using, I cannot change the temperature. Make sure that you're using one that you can turn the temperature way down. So as you can see, as long as you go quickly and the hair is wet, it will not burn. If you're going quickly, the hair straightener will singe the water, not the hair. Doll manufacturers would mostly use Kanekalon when they wanted to give a doll really straight hair, or if they wanted to give the doll big wavy curls like Barbie back in the 90s. Nylon hair has become really common recently. It usually looks really nice. It is the shiniest of all of the hair fibers. It feels very nice, very silky or slippery. It is a thicker hair fiber, and it's usually used for more fantasy hair colors and less natural hair colors, usually. Nylon is flexible and it is floppy, which is one of the reasons why I like it. Because it is a bigger hair fiber, it is heavier. Out of the 4 options for hair fibers, nylon does have the highest heat resistance, so you can boil wash it and you can use heat tools. Since nylon is one of the thicker hair fibers, it is stronger and more durable, so it is actually harder to break, but you can break it if you pull on it hard enough. Nylon does have a higher heat threshold, so it can take heat tools. However, you still want to be careful. So I'm going to show you what happens if you use a heat tool on dry nylon hair. See, the hair is pretty much fine. Now, if I was to leave it on here for too long, it could start to frizz this up, but for the most part, nylon can take it. And you can run a straightener right through the hair, and it will straighten very, very easily, and the hair is not burning or melting. Now, if you have a doll that has nylon hair, or if you're not sure if it has nylon hair, it is always safer to use water or some kind of heat protectant on the hair before you use heat tools. This will just ensure to protect the hair. And with the hair fully wet, you can run the hair straightener through it. And it sizzles, that is the water sizzling, not the hair itself burning. And you're not seeing smoke, you are seeing steam. And if you run the straightener through a few more times, it will straighten the hair out. Since nylon reacts to heat, but is still heat resistant, it is the easiest to style. It also holds its style the best. So if you want to curl the doll's hair, it will hold the curl very nicely. And if you want to straighten it, it will stay straight. So several different doll manufacturers use nylon hair on their dolls. MGA is very notorious for using this hair fiber. Some examples of dolls that use nylon hair are Rainbow High and Shadow High, LOL OMG, Some Brats, Hair Dorables. This is just a normal Hair Dorables from the first wave that I put on a Monster High body. Mermaid High, Mini Mixlings Pixlings, or I'm not sure if I'm saying the name right, but anyway, these dolls. Na surprise. Illy Forever dolls, specifically the ones from Jakks Pacific, and you know that these are the ones from Jakks Pacific because they have painted on eyes, not the inset acrylic eyes. My Little Pony, G1 through G4. Most of the G1, 2, and 3 ponies all have nylon hair, and the reproductions also have nylon hair. But in G4, they did start to use polypropylene for some of the later ponies. Also, the Disney Store Classic Ariel dolls. Most of the Disney Store Classic Princess dolls use polypropylene. However, for some reason, the Ariel dolls always get special treatment, and they get this really nice nylon hair. These are not the only dolls out on the market right now that use nylon hair. This is just an assortment of dolls in my personal collection that have nylon hair. Polypropylene is a hair fiber that's been around for a while, but it is the pandemic that has been plaguing us more recently with a lot of modern doll releases. It is widely disliked and seen as a low-quality hair fiber because you see it mostly on budget dolls. It is a mid-weight fiber that is similar to nylon. In fact, it actually has most of the same properties as nylon. Polypropylene is very vibrant. With a few exceptions, it's not quite as shiny as nylon. It is a thicker hair fiber, and it feels dry and less slippery than nylon. To me, when I rub the hair fibers together, it kind of has a dry, gritty texture, and it kind of feels like a cross between nylon and Kanekalon to me, with having the strength and vibrancy of nylon, but the dry feeling of Kanekalon. Polypropylene is a lot more stiff and less floppy, and it feels thicker when you run your fingers through it. Polypropylene does break down quicker than other hair fibers, so over time you will start to see dolls that have hair with the ends of it that start to look fried. It's also less durable than nylon, so if a child plays with it a lot and brushes the hair, you're going to get that same result with the fried ends. Polypropylene is heat resistant, it is easy to style, and it will hold the style pretty well. Because it has a high tolerance to heat, you are able to boil wash it, and you are able to use heat tools, which I will show you in just a moment. Now, a lot of you ask me how to take care of polypropylene hair or how to make it feel better. Because it is heat resistant, you are able to boil wash it. That will help to soften the hair. You can also use a hair conditioner that has silicone in it. That will also help to soften the hair. In fact, because of its rough, coarse feel, it's actually recommended to boil wash your doll's hair that has polypropylene to help soften it up. Polypropylene is not as heat resistant as nylon. You can use heat tools on it. However, if the heat is too high and you're not careful, it will frizz up the hair. Let me show you an example of what happens when you use heat on polypropylene hair. I don't know how well you can see that, but see, it did start to actually melt the hair. It is definitely not recommended to use heat tools on polypropylene hair. Now, once again, you can safely use heat treatment on polypropylene hair. What you want to do is use water or some kind of heat protectant. Okay, I've let the hair straightener cool off a little bit. So you are able to do it at a lower temperature. So as long as you keep the heat tool at a lower temperature, you are able to straighten the hair. Just make sure you use some kind of water or heat protectant. This hair straightener just has an on-off option. There is no option to reduce the heat. If you use any heat tools on dolls with polypropylene hair, make sure it's one that you can adjust the temperature and turn the temperature all the way down. I have successfully straightened polypropylene doll hair using a hair straightener before. I will put a link to that up in the corner if you want to watch that makeover video. Polypropylene is my least favorite hair fiber that is currently out on the market. And this is only a small selection of the dolls that currently have polypropylene hair. As you can see, there's a wide variety. Of course, we have some brats from like the earlier 2000s, some budget dolls like the new Hairmazing dolls, some mini dolls like Barbie Extra Mini and Enchantimals, Disney dolls like the Disney Hasbro Classic dolls, as well as the Disney Store Classic dolls, except for Ariel. Ariel is the only one that does not have polypropylene. Instead, she uses nylon. Disney Illy Forever dolls. These ones are the ones from the actual Disney store, and you can tell because as these ones have the inset acrylic eyes. Some modern Barbie, like Barbie Extra and Barbie Fashionistas, will have polypropylene if they're using like a fantasy hair colors that's super vibrant like this. You can see there's another one back here. There are some discontinued doll lines like Wild Hearts Crew, Cave Club, and Ever After High started using polypropylene hair after they did the reboot. Wild Hearts Crew and the reboot of Ever After High came out after 2015, but before 2019, around that time when a lot of doll lines were starting to cut costs, which is another reason why collectors consider polypropylene to be a lower quality. And this is why it was so disappointing to see Monster High G3 dolls with polypropylene hair, especially Abby here. Abby was notorious for being a disappointment because she has polypropylene hair, since she's such a beautiful doll and so many collectors love her. For many years, My Little Pony used nylon hair for their toys, but in recent years for My Little Pony G5 and some of the later My Little Pony G4 toys also use polypropylene hair, unfortunately. And most McDonald's Happy Meal toys that have brushable hair use polypropylene as well. Saran hair is a favorite amongst a lot of collectors, myself included. It is a thinner fiber, it is very soft, and it has kind of a waxy feel to it. It's not quite as shiny as nylon, and it is a little bit stretchier. It's made from a similar material as kitchen cling wrap, think Saran wrap, so that's why Saran is a little on the stretchy side. But it is very soft, it is also very flexible, so it is very floppy, and I love the way that it reacts with gravity. Because of this, and because the hair fibers are thinner, on doll scale, I like the way it looks a lot better than other options. The reason that a lot of Saran hair feels waxy to begin with is because it has a little coating on it to help to prevent flyaways. Otherwise, there would be a lot of little strands of hair just kind of lifting off, similar to Kanekalon. The coating that's on the hair can be washed off very easily, and all you have to do is use room temperature to warm water with dish soap. If you do that, I would also do a conditioning treatment just to make sure that the hair doesn't have those flyaways. Now, because of the nature of Saran hair, it is not as easy to style. It does not like to hold a curl as easily. Unless you're like Madeline Hatter over here, where the hair was curly to begin with, then it will hold the curl pretty well. Even though Saran hair is harder to style and doesn't usually hold a curl very well, a boil wash can help to smooth the hair out if it's frizzy. Saran has thinner hair fibers and it is stretchy, but you are able to break it if you pull on it. It is not as easy to break as Kanekalon though. Saran has a very low tolerance to heat. Yes, you definitely can boil wash it, but it is not recommended to use heat tools on Saran hair, and this is why. It just melts it immediately. So yeah, I definitely do not recommend using a hair straightener on Saran hair. Some people have been able to use heat tools on Saran hair by being very careful. Of course, you want to make sure that you use a hair straightener that has a temperature gauge, turn the temperature all the way down, and you want to either use water or heat protectant, otherwise it will melt. You also want to be very fast. You do not want the heat to linger, otherwise you have a higher chance of the hair melting. And of course, this hair straightener is just off and on. I cannot control the temperature on this one. Some examples of successful heat treatment on Saran hair are some of these Barbie Extra dolls, or even the Barbie Rewind doll back here that has crimping in the hair. This is done in the factory, but you can't get this crimping without a heat tool. I have gotten Barbies that have crimped Saran hair where part of the hair is melted towards the ends, so even that can happen from the factory. Now, unfortunately, Saran is not as common as I would like it to be. Mostly the dolls that I see that have Saran are made by Mattel. There are some exceptions, of course. There are some Bratz dolls, especially the ones from the early 2000s, and the more recent ones that have been coming out that have Saran. But most of the other dolls that I know of that have Saran hair are by Mattel. So for example, some more modern Barbies. So like I've got the Barbie Rewind back here. I've got Barbie Extra and some Fashionistas if they have more subdued or natural hair tones. There are also many vintage Barbies from the 90s and 80s that use Saran. Of course, Monster High as well as Ever After High used Saran on a lot of their dolls. And even some of the newer Monster High G3 dolls have Saran. And the newer Disney dolls that are made by Mattel have Saran. Another reason why I'm so thankful that Mattel got the license for Disney again, because Hasbro is using polypropylene. Obviously, these are not the only dolls that exist that use Saran hair, but these are just ones from my personal collection. Of course, the only examples that I have here are all Mattel and some MGA. If you know any other doll manufacturers or doll lines that use Saran for their dolls, let me know in the comment section. One thing that I wanted to mention is it can be difficult to identify hair fiber if the doll has product in their hair. Now, Rainbow High and OMG dolls are notorious for this. I don't know why, but MGA really likes to have product in the hair, but so do some collector dolls. For example, this Greta Gremlin doll from Monster High has a lot of hair gel in her hair, and the first time that I felt it, I thought that it might be polypropylene because it felt so dry and stiff, but all I had to do was feel up here at the roots and I feel that soft, waxy feeling, and I know it's Saran. Of course, the other thing you can do is wash the gel out. That's what I do with all my Rainbow High dolls. And once the product's washed out of the hair, it's a lot easier to identify it. So one thing I wanted to do was give you a side-by-side comparison of the different hair fibers so you can kind of get a visual of what they look like and what the differences are. For this example, I'm using a Rainbow High doll for nylon hair, a Disney Store Classic Alice doll for polypropylene, a vintage Barbie doll, the cut and style one for Kanekalon, a vintage Hollywood hair Barbie for Saran, and I also have a Disney Illy doll from Jakks Pacific because it's a different type of nylon, and I wanted to show the difference between that as well. So I'm going to move her out of the way and we'll bring her back in just a little bit. So they're not all exactly the same shade of blonde. I wish that they were, but these are the dolls that I went with because blonde was the only color that I had in all four of the hair fibers that I wanted to show you. So looking at nylon first, you can see it is the shiniest and it also has that nice silky feel to it. You can also see how flexible it is and it's much heavier and it is pretty floppy. Polypropylene you can see is not as shiny as the nylon is. It's a little bit more matte. It does have that dry, gritty texture, even though I have washed this hair. And I know this might not be the best example because it is very short, but it is a lot more stiff and it's not as floppy or heavy as the other hair. Here is the Kanekalon. It's very easy to see because blonde Kanekalon tends to be platinum blonde when it comes to Barbie, but it can be in other colors. This hair is the most matte option. It does kind of look shiny up here at the top, but it is in person the most matte, flat color compared to all of the others. It's the least shiny, is what I'm trying to say. It is very soft. You can see that it is kind of fluffy looking and floaty, and Kanekalon is very soft and it is flexible, but it is lighter, so it's not as floppy as nylon or Saran. But the main way you can spot Kanekalon is because it looks fluffy. Now looking at my personal favorite, Saran. Saran has a shine to it, but it's not as shiny as nylon. It does kind of have that waxy feel to it, and Saran is very floppy. It is probably the heaviest next to nylon, and it reacts to gravity very, very well, and it's very flexible. I think it's the most flexible out of all of the hair fibers. Now here is the Illy doll next to the Rainbow High doll. This is one of those scenarios where it would probably be a little difficult to identify, at least just by looking at it, because the Illy doll's hair is a little bit more dull. It's not as shiny as the Rainbow High doll. Plus, most nylon hair on dolls tends to be the more bright, vibrant colors, and this is definitely a more natural blonde. But the way that you can tell is by the feel. The Illy doll's hair is just as silky and smooth as the Rainbow High doll's hair is. Also, if we do the flop test, you can see it is pretty flexible and it is pretty floppy as well, just like the Rainbow High doll's hair. So even though these are the same kind of hair fiber, you wouldn't be able to tell just by looking at it. You do have to feel it. But also keep in mind that there are different manufacturers and different grades of the same hair fiber. So there is different grades of nylon. Also, different companies manufacture nylon. So Rainbow High might have used one supplier, but Illy might have used, or Jakks Pacific might have used a different one. And that's why the look and or the feel could potentially be different for the same hair fiber. One thing to keep in mind is that not all dolls from the same line are made alike. Here I have a few different examples of variations in hair fibers. For example, these are both Disney Playline dolls that you're able to find at Walmart or Target. They are from the budget line, so they are around the same price. This Ariel just happens to be on a Made to Move body because I did a body swap. They're not the same character, but this example still works. This Aurora was made by Hasbro, and Hasbro uses polypropylene hair, whereas this Ariel was made by Mattel, and Mattel chose to use Saran hair. Another example of this is the Illy Forever dolls. This is the Disney Store version, and you can tell because she has the acrylic inset eyes, and she has polypropylene hair. Whereas this is one of the Illy dolls that's made by Jakks Pacific. You can tell because she has the painted on eyes, and she has nylon hair. Now, this can still happen within the same doll manufacturer and line. For example, here is two Barbies, and these are both from the 90s Superstar era Barbies. This is a Hollywood hair Barbie, and this is a cut-and style Barbie. They're both hair play dolls with super long hair, but you can tell just by looking, they have two very different types of hair. Hollywood hair Barbie uses Saran hair, whereas the cut and style Barbie has Kanekalon hair. Now, in some cases, this could just be a style choice, but because these are hair play dolls, the choice was deliberate because of the hair gimmick. For example, Hollywood hair has the Saran hair because it was coated in a substance that when you sprayed the magic mist on it, that the substance would turn pink to change the hair color. And cut and style Barbie came with scissors, and the hair gimmick was you can cut the hair, and Kanekalon hair is a lot easier to cut than Saran. But the variations don't stop there. These are both dolls from the Workin' Out line. This is Workin' Out Barbie and Workin' Out Teresa. Barbie has Saran hair, whereas Teresa has Kanekalon hair. Now, being that these are both from the same line and came out in the same year, and they're not hair play dolls, the difference for these dolls happens to do with the country that they were manufactured in. I don't know how well you can see this, but Barbie was actually made in Indonesia, whereas Teresa was made in China. Now, there is a Chinese variant of Barbie that has Kanekalon hair, so what that tells me is the location in Indonesia was using Saran. Obviously, the one in China had Kanekalon. This could be due to a bunch of different reasons, from price to availability, or it could be something else, I'm not sure. Here's another example of the same character, but with two different hair types. This signature Claudine doll has polypropylene hair, whereas this Scared Ice Island Claudine doll has Saran. So even though they're the same character, their hair fiber can vary from line to line. It could be because of the color that they wanted to use, the availability for that color. I personally like to think that it was because of feedback from the fans, because we hate polypropylene. In fact, there is a variant that you can get on Amazon for Claudine that has Saran for her signature doll. I don't have that variant, but I know a lot of people that do. Next, I want to go over some honorable mentions. I'm going to start off with flocking. Flocking is this velvety fuzz that's on the side of the head. This is usually meant to represent a really short haircut or a buzz cut, or in the case of most boy dolls, an undercut. And most Venus dolls from Monster High G1 have this haircut where it's shaved on the side like this. The way that this hair is applied is by adding a layer of glue and then putting on a dusting of the flocking powder. Because of this, you do not want to get this wet if you can help it, and you definitely don't want to use warm water. So if you have a doll like this Venus here and you decide to give her a boil wash, be very careful because the hot water can cause the glue to soften and you will lose some of the flocking. If you do need to wash the hair for any reason, it's better to use cold water if you can, or for some of the dolls with the longer hair, if you need to boil wash, try and dip just the hair itself into the water and keep this part dry. Up next, I also wanted to make sure to mention protective and textured hairstyles. These can be made from a number of different hair materials. In fact, I think each of these are different. Now, I personally am not the most knowledgeable when it comes to protective hairstyles, and it's not really my place to comment on them very much, but I will point out the things that I do like about them. So these are some really good examples here. This is an Illy doll. I believe that this is a nylon because this doll is from Jakks Pacific. It's really hard to tell when the hair is braided like this. The reason it's hard to tell is because although it is smooth, it is nowhere near as silky as this Shadow High doll. these braids and twists are so beautiful and they feel very nice. And I love this new G3 Venus's twists. In fact, I think hers are the same as the ones that we got on the live action Ariel doll. These ones I'm not sure. It is a much lighter material and they're very soft, but they're not Kanekalon. They're more like a very sturdy yarn. Oh, and then we have a Barbie extra back here. Oops, I'm knocking things over. Her hair is very light and it is a little more dry feeling. So once again, it's just a different fiber than the other dolls. What I love about dolls with braids is that you don't really need to do much when it comes to styling them. In fact, I don't recommend combing or brushing these unless if you want to take the braids out completely. Especially since if you look at the ends here, it's kind of easy for these to unravel, so you got to be careful. But if you want to do fun styles with this kind of hair, it is pretty easy to do it. Now, when it comes to curly doll hair, I love curly doll hair on dolls. It is so much fun to just squish it. It feels like very calming to me. It's very satisfying, almost like ASMR or a stress relief. That being said, if you want it to stay nice, don't touch it. Curly doll hair can get frizzy very quickly, so once again, you don't want to brush or comb this hair. I wish I had better advice on how to take care of curly doll hair, but unfortunately that is outside of my knowledge. The only thing that I personally do is if I feel I need to, I will wash the hair and use hair conditioner, and I will just kind of like squish it to get the excess water out and let it air dry, but I never brush or comb curly doll hair. Saran is one of those weird situations where if it's factory curled like this, it can look really beautiful, but box hair can make it look kind of all over the place. I have heard that if you just dunk this in boiling water, the Saran will remember the shape that it was in and kind of go back into its curls. I haven't tried that yet, but I might try this in a future video to see if that works. Next up as another honorable mention is dolls with tinsel in their hair. Now, tinsel is the source of a lot of controversy in the doll collecting community. I feel like when it comes to tinsel, you either love it or you hate it. And I think most collectors hate it. Personally, I don't mind it. I think that it adds something extra to the hair and I like the sparkle. That being said, there are different types of tinsel. I don't know why I put her back here. I might as well just show her first. So I think this is the kind of tinsel that annoys people the most. It is the metallic tinsel, and this is a G3 Monster High Cleo doll. Also, there are some My Little Ponies from the 80s that use this kind of tinsel as well. This Claudine has one that is similar. It's the same kind of tinsel. It's almost like the kind of tinsel that you'd find on Christmas tree decorations, except it's holographic. This LOL OMG doll, as well as this Shadow High doll, both have a iridescent glitter that I actually really like. It is very similar to the metallic glitter on the pony and on Cleo. The tinsel that Laguna has is interesting because this one is kind of like a woven tinsel, or I don't know if it's woven, but it's like two strands put together. One that provides the color and the iridescence, and the other one is completely clear, but wrapped together, it kind of gives this textured look or this like twinkling look. It's absolutely beautiful, but this is one of those ones that unravels and is kind of hard to deal with if you're trying to keep it nice. And the last example I have is this Nana Surprise doll. She has the metallic type of tinsel, but hers is textured and it kind of creates, once again, this like twinkling effect. Now, like I said, tinsel is the source of a lot of controversy in the doll collecting community, and it's because it's a little difficult to take care of. You have to be careful when both brushing the hair or doing a boil wash on it because the tinsel can frizz up. And heat tools are not recommended because the tinsel has a lower heat resistance than the hair fiber usually. So for dolls like these MGA dolls that use nylon hair, you may easily be able to straighten the doll hair, but then the tinsel might melt or get frizzy. Same thing with brushing. You don't want to overbrush it, and if you do be careful with it, because just the act of brushing alone can cause the tinsel to get kinky and become frizzy. All right, that was a lot. I'm not gonna lie, this video kind of took a lot out of me to put together. All of the dolls, trying to like organize and finding examples for everything and just like taking everything out of my displays and storage and putting them back. It was a lot. So I'm sorry for the delay in getting this video out, but I'm so happy that it's finally out. I'm really happy with how it's turned out. Anyway, that being said, I really hope that you were able to find this video helpful, or if nothing else, just entertaining. I know I personally watch these kind of videos myself myself. I stumbled across a Denisa Medrano's video several years ago, and that's how I kind of got into the doll hair rerooting. If you could help this video out by hitting thumbs up, leaving a comment, and sharing the video with anybody that you think might find it interesting or helpful, I would really appreciate it, because it really helps out not only the video, but my channel as a whole. Now, I went over a lot of information in this video, but if there's anything that either I said incorrectly, like maybe I misspoke or said the wrong name of a certain type of doll brand or something like that, please feel free to call me out in the comments. Also, if there's anything that I forgot or any questions that you still have after watching this video, let me know in the comment section and I will do my best to reply to every comment, or at least every question. That being said, my voice is getting a little bit raw from talking so much, so I'm gonna get going. But thank you so much for watching. I genuinely appreciate you. As always, I want to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section down below. In fact, let me know what your favorite doll hair type is. Mine is Saran, but yours might be different. Anyway, that's gonna be it for right now. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope I see you next time. Bye! If you like this video, you can let me know by hitting thumbs up. You can check out some of my other videos by clicking one of the links on the screen. I post new videos every week, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified every time I upload. Thanks so much for watching. See you in the next video.